Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. So today's video I'm going to be showing you all the books that I read in March. Now I had quite of a slow beginning and then near the end I kind of just started reading more. I was kind of in a reading slump and so I literally barely read anything for the first two and a half weeks, and then near the end I just kind of read quite a lot. So it's going to be a different type of one. I don't know how many books I've read. I'm going to possibly count and put it in the title like I normally do, but let's just get right into the video. So the first book I read was One Last Gift by Emily Stone. This I rated 3 stars. Obviously it's a Christmas book and I was trying to read all my Christmas books before winter ended. I did not accomplish that, but I did read this one and I would definitely say it was very interesting. I'm kind of trying to remember what it was about because obviously it was like a month ago now. So it's about Cassie and she has a brother called Tom and Tom has a best friend called Sam, and something bad happens. I don't know how to say this without ruining it, but basically they've all kind of like been close, they grew up together, and then something happens and that's all I can really say. I don't know, but it's like a kind of like an enemies to friends to lovers ish. I'm not sure. I don't want to say too much about it before I ruin it, so I'm gonna like stop there, but I would recommend this for like Christmassy wintry time. That is what I'm gonna say. Okay, next I read Your Fault by Mercedes Ron and I rated this 2.75 stars. I honestly thought I rated it higher, but clearly not. This was kind of, there's parts of it where I felt like it's been dragged on. I was kind of bored throughout and I don't know, I just feel like there was some parts that wasn't really necessary and I was frustrated. In this I start to just not like the characters at all, and then it does start to pick up a little bit near the end, and then the ending was just like a no. There's a trope that most people hate and I'm just going to leave it at that because obviously it's a spoiler otherwise, and that just ruined everything for me. I absolutely hated the ending. It was a no from me. The ending ruined everything for me and that is all I'm gonna say. I just threw the book. So we're going to move on. Then I read Rhythm, Chord and Manican, I think I say it, by Mara Zapata. I rated this 2.5 to 2.75 stars. I wasn't sure what to really rate it. This is definitely not my favourite from Mara Zapata and I don't know what it was. It was short, so like if you're looking for a short quick read that's fine. I just didn't really like characters. I didn't really feel a connection between the characters, and this is like a band romance book. I'm not really into them, so maybe that was the reason, I'm not sure, but this was definitely not my favourite. So basically this is about Gabby and her twin brother invites her to go on tour with them, so obviously she goes because she doesn't really have anything else to do, and then obviously she's going, and then that she meets Sasha, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure. Yeah, then she meets him and things start to happen. It's quite like a basic plot, but yeah, I would recommend it, I suppose, if you're looking for something quick, like a book off your goal kind of thing, but that's about it. Then I read The Catch by Amy Lee and I actually wrote a review on Goodreads for this, so I'm just going to read that. So I did rate it 3 stars and I said I struggled to get invested in this one. It had a few things in the book that I usually love, but then it also was very insta-lovey with the whole story taking place in less than 2 weeks. It made it very hard for me to feel a connection between the characters. I liked Melanie and Evan. They're both good people with hurt pasts. Now, if you like tropes of strangers to lovers, insta love, small town romance, fake fiancés, then this book would definitely be for you. And then I put overall I would recommend this book if you are looking for a fun quick read. It was definitely interesting, but 2 weeks, can you fall in love with someone in 2 weeks? I'm not too sure, but that's kind of the main thing that put me off this book. Then I read Taste Like Shakar and I rated this 3 stars. I would definitely say it was enjoyable reading. I liked it. I listened to it as an audiobook while I was like doing things like editing and things, but I definitely recommend it. I would definitely say this was better than Dating Dr. Dill. I would definitely say it was better than that. Personally, it was more interesting, felt like more happened, and I'll definitely recommend it. Then I read The 7-Year Slip and this was 4.5 stars and I'm thinking about changing it to like 4.75 stars. This so enjoyable. I absolutely loved my time reading this and I would definitely recommend it. This is about Clementine and she lives in like her grandma's like old apartment. Whenever she goes into that apartment, she goes 7 years into the past and she meets a guy that like standing in her kitchen. But then when she leaves the apartment, she obviously goes back to the present, and it was just so interesting. And please, if you haven't read this book already, read it. Trust me, you will love it. Then I read Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I believe this is Ali Hazelwood's newest release, and I rated this 4 stars. I definitely love the preface of Vampire Werewolf. I love the storyline. I don't know, I felt like some of it dragged on a little bit sometimes, but otherwise it was an enjoyable read, and it was like a enemies to lovers, I think it was, fake dating, all those good tropes. I definitely recommend. Then I read Legendborn, and I'm never going to talk about this too much because I ranted about it in the Reading Popular Books for a Week reading vlog, so if you want to check that out for my thoughts on this you can, but literally I had a piece of paper with all my thoughts on it and it was that good. Okay, then I reread Him by L.L. Ash, and I absolutely love this book. Obviously it's still going to be a 5-star read. For some reason I always read this and another book in March, and I read this literally in a night. It took me like an hour because I just absolutely love this book with all my heart, and I highly recommend you read it if you haven't already. I love this, and this is actually a series, and a new book is coming out very soon, so recommend this whole series. And then I also reread Unconditional by QB Tyler, and again reread it in an hour. I highly recommend it. This is one I also read every March. Just go and read QB Tyler. That's all I'm going to say because I love this book so much. But I haven't talked too much about them because I always talk about them on my channel. Okay, then I read Hunting Adeline, and I rated it 5 stars. I love this book. It was just so interesting, and you definitely get a lot of character development in this, and I love this book. And I can't explain too much about it because it's the second book from Haunting Adeline, and it kind of like continues from there. So if I explain anything about this book, it just completely ruins everything. So I can't really say much about it, but please pick up the series. But check the trigger warnings. If you're thinking about reading it, check the trigger warnings. There's so many triggering things about it. There were times in this book where I had to put it down and just like stop for a second because it can be tough to read. Even if they're not normally trigger warnings for you, it can be a tough time, a tough read. So just please be careful with your mental health. Just a book's not worth it. So please be careful if you're going to read this. Then I read That One Night by Emily Raff. This is the prequel novella to Pucking Around, which I really want to read soon. I was hoping to do it in March, never got around to it unfortunately. But I rated this 2 stars, I think it was. But it was good. I just don't rate novellas any higher than like 3 stars normally. So I would recommend reading this before reading Pucking Around. It was fun to see how everything starts. I mean, it was a fun novella. Then I read Hold On To Me by Lucia Franco. This book I was loving. It was very enjoyable, and then things started to happen. Like one thing happened, and I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so sad. I was not expecting this, and it was upsetting. And then understandably things started to go downhill. Then something else bad happens, and I'm at this point I'm so angry at the book. I was reading out my Kindle. I just want to throw my Kindle across the room. I was so angry, and the book made me feel so many emotions, and anger is not a very common one I feel while reading a book, but I don't know what it was. But please check the trigger warnings because there's so many triggering things in this book, and you get details. Like it goes into detail. It's hard to read. So yes, would I recommend Hold On To Me? Yes, I would. But check the trigger warnings because you will be going through so many emotions through this book while reading this book. So just be aware of that. Then I read Ruthless Vows. This was my book club pick for March. Again, I'm not going to go too much into this because I did a whole live show talking about this book. So I rated it 2.5 stars if I remember correctly. Oh no, just 2 stars. I rated it 2 stars. And again, like I said, I'm not going to talk too much about it. It was disappointing, especially since I really loved Divine Rivals. It was disappointing in that sense, but again, I don't know if it was just because it was more focused on like war and stuff, and that's not normally my kind of thing in books. I'm not sure, but that's what I'm just going to say for this one. Okay, then Vanessa, Brie, Nikki and Katie did like a smutty novella weekend thing, and so these are all the novellas that I read, and most of them, except for like one I think it was, I rated 1 star, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Then I read Untethered by Elodie Hart, and this I rated 2 stars. This is the 4th book in the series, and the other 3 I absolutely love, but this one, I don't know what it was disappointing, and I was looking forward to Cal's story, but this was just not what I wanted, not what I was expecting for his story, and I was disappointed. I also feel like it wasn't as funny in his own stories. In the first 3 books, he had character and everything, and in his own book he didn't really show that, so yeah. It was disappointing from the rest, but you know. Then I read Murder in the Family by Cara Hunter. This I rated 4 stars. I would definitely recommend this book if you are into like mystery thrillers, crime, like documentaries and stuff, because you are literally investigating the crime yourself, because you get like interview style articles, you get basically all the things you need to investigate it yourself, and I would highly recommend this book. It was so interesting, so good, and I really enjoyed my time reading it. Then I read The Cock Down the Block, and this I rated 3 stars. This one is great if you want a quick fast read. It's like just under 300 pages I think, or just over, I'm not sure. It's very fast paced. I would recommend it if you are looking for something quick, fast paced and everything. But I don't know, I feel like obviously because it's short, I felt like sometimes it was rushed. It was kind of insta lovey considering it's like friends to lovers, and you obviously you don't expect it to be so insta lovey, so that was the only problem for me. Then I read Where's Molly, and I rated this 4 stars. This is like Molly's story from Haunting and Hunting Adeline. So this is kind of like the 4th book in series, are we gonna say? Because there's obviously Satan's Affair, Haunting Adeline, Hunting Adeline, and then Where's Molly. This, again, check the trigger warnings if you're going to read it, but this I found really fascinating. I liked it. I don't want to say enjoyed it because there's some hard topics, but I would definitely recommend reading Molly's story because it was a wild time. Then I read Finney Donovan is Killing It, and I rated this at 4.25 stars. This was actually really enjoyable. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did, but I definitely would recommend Finney Donovan is Killing It because it was so fun. Like, obviously it's about a woman who is a writer, but then she accidentally gets mistaken as like a hitman, but it's done in like a comedy way and you will be laughing, and it was a good fun time. And then obviously I moved straight on to the second book, which was Finney Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead, and this one I rated just 4 stars. Again, it was still enjoyable, just not obviously that as enjoyable as the first one, but still really enjoyable, and I can't wait to go into the 3rd book. But the 3rd book I am also scared for because people say it kind of goes downhill from there. But then I read Better Run by Alina May. I rated this 3 stars. This is so dark, so if you're looking for so dark, this is for you. If you're looking for like kidnapping romance, then this is also for you. It's like I said, very dark, but it was okay, but you definitely have to be in like the dark romance mood because this is like on the higher end, and yeah, I liked it. Then I read Two Wrongs Make a Right, and I rated this 3 stars. Sorry, 3.75 stars. I enjoyed this. It took me a little while to read, but that's not, I don't think that was the book. There was times where things dragged on, and there is the representation of autism in this, which obviously you don't really see in many books. I personally can't tell if it's done well or not. You know, I love the fact that it's mentioned. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this book. They kind of like meet through their friends, and it's an enemies to lovers. At first they hate each other, and then, you know, or we could say like enemies to friends to lovers more. So it was fun, and I'd recommend. Then I read A Not So Mute Cute by Megan Quinn. This book I rated 4 stars. This was actually really enjoyable. It is a fake dating, or shall we say fake fiance romance, and this was so fun, and I would definitely highly recommend. The writing was amazing as well, and like the plot. The characters, I really enjoyed the characters in this, and like I said, I'd highly recommend. I read Yellowface, which I rated 3 stars. This I liked, but the plot of the story, someone taking someone else's writing and making it their own kind of thing, isn't my thing. Because other books I've heard of that before and it just wasn't my thing, but everything else I really liked about the book. And then I read So Not Meant to Be by Megan Quinn, and I rated this one 2.5 stars. Obviously it wasn't as enjoyable as this one. I found myself drifting off and like being more bored with this one, but I just feel like things were like dragging out, and that's why. And it was much longer, which I just don't feel like it needed to be. It could have been the length of this book and be perfectly fine. So those are the books that I read in March. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry that it was rushed near the end. There was a lot of books to get through, more books than what I thought. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!